Eli and the End of Obedience. Eli was 8 years old when he learned that silence could sound like God. They called the place the Compound. Ultra-stripped, efficient, correct. Gunmetal walls, bunks aligned to regulation, meals ladled from grey vats that tasted like compliance. And faith was not mystery or mercy or wonder. Faith was the field manual, dog-eared, memorized, recited. Do not question, do not hesitate, do not trust your own seeing. God, as Eli understood him, was a superior officer who never appeared, only inspected. A presence inferred through punishment, a whistle waiting somewhere above the ceiling tiles. At night, when the lights dimmed to that sickly, fluorescent half-life, Eli curled in his bunk like something forgotten. Too small for the rules that governed him, too alive for the narrowness demanded of him. He stared at the cracks in the ceiling, thin, branching fractures that looked like commandments breaking under their own weight, and wondered if heaven too was a place where no one laughed. When sleep finally came, it took him violently, and the boy was gone. In the dream, Eli stood upright, not grown gently, but forged, broad-shouldered, scarred, awake in his body in a way the child had never been allowed to be. He walked the same corridors, but the air no longer pressed down on him. It vibrated, as if the walls themselves were listening. The field manual was still in his hands, but it would not stay still. The words shimmered, slid, rewrote themselves as he read them, commands softening into questions, rules collapsing into implications. And suddenly he understood, not as an idea, but as a remembering that reached backward through his spine. The spiritual path does not culminate in obedience. That had been the language of childhood, of survival, of small bodies trying to stay safe beneath large systems. Obedience asked, "What am I allowed to do?" It waited, it flinched, it learned to confuse stillness with goodness. But what rose in him now was different, older, truer. The path culminates in co-creation, not permission, but responsibility, not safety, but presence, not erasure, but participation. Eli let the field manual fall. It hit the floor with a sound that should have meant punishment, alarms, sirens, consequence. Instead, the ground answered with a low, resonant hum, not a warning, an invitation. For the first time, God did not feel like a voice above him. God felt like something meeting him, intelligence recognizing intelligence, will standing eye to eye with will. Love no longer enforced through fear, but expressed through choice. Pain, he saw now, had never been a whip. It was information, misunderstood, misused, weaponized by those who feared freedom. Healing was not endurance, it was integration, the slow, holy work of weaving scars into strength without shame. And surrender had been lied about. Surrender was not disappearing, it was bringing the whole self forward and saying, "Use me honestly." The gates of the compound opened without anyone touching them. No rebellion, no overthrow, just recognition, adulthood. Not the rejection of God, but the moment the relationship finally became real. Eli turned and saw the boy still curled in the bunk, thin shoulders drawn tight against a world that had asked too much, too soon. And something inside the man broke open, not in rage, but in grief so tender it could only be called sacred. If the divine could weep, it would weep there. Not because the boy had disobeyed, but because he had survived long enough to grow. The walls dissolved, not into chaos, but into space, a vast, waiting canvas, unpainted, trusting. Eli woke with a sharp breath, heart pounding, the room unchanged. The field manual lay beside him, but now it read differently. Not a cage, a beginning.